Welcome to the Total Boss Podcast, and I'm your host, Christiano Green, a podcast where we talk about finding fulfillment through self-development, being a leader of your own life, and getting the most out of it as well. Tenacity, originality, talent, authenticity, and being legendary. It's all about living your best life. Hello, all you total bosses out there, and welcome to another episode of the Total Boss Podcast. I am your host, Christiano Green, and I am a relationship coach for gay men, helping them to attract and create healthy, happy, passionate, and loving relationships in their life. So this week, in the podcast episode, what I really wanted to jump in and have a discussion about relates to toxic relationships. Now, for so many people in the gay community, it's common that they've been in a toxic relationship at some point in their life. Now, our statistics are a lot higher than the general population when it comes to being in unhealthy relationships. And a lot of this, stems down to the way that we were brought up, the relationships that we had with our family, our parents, the key people in our life. And oftentimes when we learn, unhealthy behaviors, we often feel like that is how relationships are meant to be in order for us to receive love. Now, this could mean possibly that you might have had an unhealthy parent or guardian or friend relationship in your upbringing that really caused you to feel that way, right? Or it could also mean just because of the journey of many gay men where they, have a very internalized journey, maybe they're also holding themselves back from receiving love. So when they find someone who does, have interest in them and maybe shows love in unhealthy ways, they feel like this is the way that they should receive love. So we're really going to jump in today and talk about, like I said, toxic relationships, and really understand the signs that you can really look for to determine if you're in a toxic relationship, and then what you really want to do if you are in one, so that you can either, one, improve the relationship on your side and your partner's side, so that you have a more healthy, happy, passionate, loving relationship with your partner. Or on the other hand, maybe it's time to decide whether it's time to move away from it, right? It might have gotten to the point where it's become, more physical abuse or domestic violence, etc., right? Those are some things that can happen. So if you're in that type of abusive relationship, it's about really figuring out how can you get away from it in a safe and secure way so that you can move forward. And then what you need to do to heal from that so that you no longer attract that kind of person. Because for some people who've been in multiple toxic relationships, they might often feel like maybe it's a pattern that they're dating the same kinds of men who share the same kinds of behaviors. And oftentimes when it comes to relationships, our relationships do become a mirror, a match of our relationship with ourselves. So if we are having some, say, toxic behaviors towards ourselves, we have a toxic relationship with ourselves, we're not really able to trust ourselves, we're not able to really empower ourselves, we're not able to love ourselves, then when we get into a relationship with other people, it's likely again that we are going to get into relationships that are more toxic, right? So the line really between healthy and unhealthy relationships can be quickly crossed. And it really can be difficult sometimes to identify, even with signs that may seem obvious to others. Because, as we know, people who are outside of something can see something clearer than when you're inside it, because you have all of the different history, all of the different things, and it can really cause a lot of confusion for us as well. So this is really what I wanted to jump into today, so we can recognize some of the clear signs of toxic or abusive relationships and how we can address it in more healthy and safe ways. So really, number one is, if you're in a relationship and there is a lack of trust, then this is a good sign to say that maybe you're not in a very healthy relationship, because a partner is someone for you to be able to rely on, for you to be able to be vulnerable with, for you to have in your corner. And obviously in the absence of trust, none of these things are actually possible. So when I see people in a mostly healthy relationship, there is a security that they have in that stability within their relationship, right? Now, without the trust, And not just trust that your partner will be faithful, but trust that your partner will behave in the best interests of, your relationship. There can't be that sense of security. So really understanding what is happening and why you are maybe not trusting your partner, or why you are trusting your partner, is important for you to understand, to see whether or not you're in a healthy relationship. And if you don't trust them, then this is something that you need to be able to communicate with them about and understand how you can get to a level of trust if you do want to resolve it. And sometimes, quite oftentimes, getting someone outside of your relationship to help you with that, like a coach or a therapist or someone in that realm that really has a lot of experience within relationships, is going to be important for you to be able to salvage that. If you don't think that you can trust your partner again, maybe they've done some things that are just maybe betrayal, and they've just pushed over the line too many times, then again, this is something that you maybe need to really get to resolution within yourself, so that you can say, hey, look, enough's enough. I'm not going to get to a place of trust again. And if you can't ever feel like you're ever going to get to a place of trust again, then the relationship is never going to move forward for you. So really think about, if you're, wanting to stay, whether you can move past trust issues or not. The next one is really understanding, the kind of communication that you have within your relationship. And obviously, if you're in a good relationship, your communication will be really good, will be positive, right? It'll be affirming. It'll be stuff that's related to the two of you moving in the right direction. Whereas if you're in a more toxic or unhealthy relationship, the communication is going to be more hostile. So, hostile communication is stuff like, yelling, raising your voice constantly in a place where you're not able to communicate effectively. Because again, as things get heightened, you yell, they yell, you don't get anywhere, because you're not, and when people are yelling, you're really not listening. You're just trying to be heard, right? Other areas is name calling or other hurtful phrases. So really throwing some shade, throwing some nastiness out there in order to bring the other person down. That's obviously really hostile as well, and that's not going to move you forward in your relationship. Again, hostile communication could relate to throwing and breaking things as well, Trying to get your point across by throwing a plate on the floor is really hostile, right? It brings a hostile environment as well. And again, just because it's not words, again, you throwing something is a way of communicating as well. Breaking things is a way of communicating. You're getting a point, trying to get a point across. So we've got to look at communication outside of just words. It's also the tone, the actions that we're taking with our body language as well. So in that same accordance, using your body for physical intimidation or force. So intimidating your postural stance to the place where someone's going to feel intimidated or whatnot by your actions as well. So those are some of the key ones, but there's some more, subtle ways that we can also talk about here. So number one is the silent treatment. So pulling back from communication in the first place, again, is a hostile communication. Allowing yourself to not show love or show any sort of communication means that, again, you're trying to get a point across. Like, you've done something wrong here and you need to, make it up to me, or whatever it is that you want, right? Other things could be using you statements or blaming statements, putting all blame on someone else and never taking accountability for where you're at in your relationship, because you are in the relationship. And if you put 100% of blame on somebody else, you're taking away your own power to grow and to improve the relationship, right? Another way would be, with your partners trying to communicate or vice versa, and you get constantly interrupted. That's hostile communication, because you're not allowing that person to speak, or they're not allowing you to speak. And that is a sign that, again, you're not being heard or seen or understood in that relationship. So really, again, when that comes down to that's the same thing as listening to respond instead of really listening to, hear or understand your partner. You are only causing yourself just enough time so you can really get your point across as well, right? As we know, hostile communication really causes tension and really creates further distrust between the partners that are in there, right? And healthy relationships rely on open communication, cooling down before things get too heated. And then really the core of it is absolutely respect. So open communication really provides opportunities to provide and receive support between each of the partners, right? And so for you in a gay couple, it's important for you to be able to get to a place of open communication where you both feel safe being able to say what you need to. And obviously, if you're a place where you're seeing some of these hostile communication styles in your relationship, it's about really going, well, what do I need to do to salvage this and get to a place where we can communicate better. And again, bringing in someone who is like a coach can help teach you those skills and help you to see things that you're just not seeing as well. Outside help is really important. Sometimes going to a friend who's always just going to be on your side isn't going to be the greatest, because you want someone who's going to tell you when you're right and wrong, from their opinion, who actually probably knows about it. Whereas some of your friends might just be, you're yes men, and that's okay. You might understand that those are your friendships, but being clear on who you're going to get some support is really important for you to be able to get the right support that's going to move you forward. Again, if you don't think that you can salvage it, or you don't want to because of hostile communication, then it's about how do you end this relationship in a more safe way with communication as to being able to make sense as to why it's not good for you in your life. So again, you want to make sure you're in a safe environment to be able to speak and communicate why this is, again, no longer probably the relationship for you as well. So the next, sign that you're in a toxic, relationship is controlling behaviors, right? So your partner doesn't, have the right to control your actions or your beliefs. One controlling behavior to look out for is threatening loss of something, such as financial stability, time with your family, companionship, love, right? These threats really do strike fear in many people, and I find that these are the reasons many people stay in unhealthy and unhappy relationships, even when they're really wishing that it ends. It's because, again, the threats make you feel like you need that other person. So it's, again, putting in this actual layer of neediness within the relationship, especially if there is something that's being held over the person's head, right? So what's some other signs of controlling behaviors? Telling you what's right, threatening to out you. So for example, again, if you're in a relationship and obviously gay and one person's not out or whatnot, outing you to friends, family, co-workers, doing things that are going to obviously, make you feel threatened and also probably may change your life. That's really unfair for them to do, right? Someone else needing to know everything that you do and who you're with, right? That's really controlling behavior. Trying to manage your money and obviously trying to control the finances is, again, another way of controlling behavior. Secluding you from your loved ones or always being present when you are with others, right? Not allowing you to do anything on your own. Acting like you don't know what you're talking about, or requiring access to your personal devices such as phone or email accounts, right? So as we know, plenty of people give out their passcodes to their partner because they come from a lack of trust, and it comes from a place of controlling place as well. So this comes down to it that if you're in a relationship where someone is controlling you, it might be hard for you to get this sorted out. This is probably a really difficult one, but again, it's up to you to determine whether you want to try to make it work. And for you to make it work, it would require that person who is the controlling behaviors person gets some help on how to understand and communicate and actually be more healthy, right? Because if they're trying to control you, it's hard for you to do something on their end for it to change. Whether it's communication or not, they have to take some accountability. So if you're in a position where they want to do that, great. Maybe that's something that you want. Good for you. If not, then again, moving out of it in a healthy way by getting some help, seeking support, maybe reaching out to your family, your friends, someone that you really trust who can help you get out in a safe way, and maybe, especially depending on your situation with where you live and your financial, etc., helping you to figure that out might be the best way for you to get out of a controlling toxic relationship as well. So another sign that you would be in a unhealthy and toxic relationship is if you or your partner are constantly lying to each other, right? Now, lies, no matter how small, they erode any credibility over time, right? When a partner lies to you, it signals that they don't respect you as a mutual partner who deserve honesty and care, right? And for men, especially gay men in relationships, respect is almost more important than love. So when you realize that someone doesn't respect you because they're constantly lying, it can have a bigger weight, especially in gay male relationships, because if you're not feeling respected, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why people break up, is not feeling respect and love in their relationship, right? Lying to your partner indicates your allegiance is to yourself, not the relationship. So again, if you're in a relationship where your partner lies to you, again, can you move past it? Can you communicate? Do you trust them enough that you can get past the trust issues? If you can, communication, getting some outside help to work through that, great. Get a coach, see a therapist, trust someone in your life. But again, if you can't move past the trust, you can't move past the fact that you don't believe they're going to stop lying to you, again, it's probably time to figure out how you can get out of this relationship in a healthy way and move on with your life and figure out how you can then get to a place of a healthiness within your relationship with yourself and then be able to move forward in that. So a lot of healing work is probably required if you're in a toxic relationship in order for you to build up a strong relationship with yourself, so that the next time you do get in a relationship, you find something from that place of love as well. Next one is that if there's all take and no give, right? So if your relationship consistently revolves around what makes your partner happy and ignores your own needs, it can be a big sign of toxicity, right? Being considerate of your partner is one thing, but if you find yourself saying no to yourself frequently to say yes to them, you might want to consider setting some boundaries, right? If they dismiss, belittle, or bulldoze your boundaries, that could also be a sign of a toxic relationship, right? So really understanding what are some of the key ways that I need to put in place for me to have some safe, secure, and healthy boundaries in my own life, but then able to have those boundaries within my partner and my relationship. Because it's all well and good for you to have your own boundaries, but if you're crossing them to meet your partner's needs, that's unfair for you. And if your partner's expecting you to do that, then that's that. And if you're doing it doing it because you're afraid of things, again, that causes the level of toxicity and unhealthiness within the relationship. So, what's some other signs of a one-sided relationship? That could be always being the first one to text, right? If you're someone who, feels like I'm always the one that says I love you first, or I'm always the one that's texting first, again, is it always on you who's causing, creating more in the relationship, right? Long gaps between sending a message and receiving a response, right? That could be harsh, right? That in a relationship, you don't expect your partner to take 2 days to reply to you, right? And if things are happening like that, then this is a sign that maybe you're not in a healthy relationship. Conversations that are choppy, right? Up and down, in and out. You don't really know where you stand, right? Finding yourself asking over and over for your partner to change their behavior. Now, if you're trying to change someone, this is the where we get to the place where we say, why am I trying to change someone for them to be in a relationship so that I'm happy? I need to get to a place where I'm happy first, so I don't need them to change. But then in order for that to happen, I may not be in a relationship with this type of a person as well. So it's about figuring that out as well. And then finally, having a significantly unequal division of, the tasks around the house, the responsibilities, or what are the contribution to your relationship or even your household if you're living together. So really getting to a place again, here it's a lot about communication and understanding how can you get on the same page if this is something you want to save, and communication is going to fix a lot of this stuff. But again, if you don't think it's going to happen or it's just not the right person, because a lot of these signs might show you that this is just not the right person, again, figuring out how you can move past this and get out of this unhealthy relationship and into a more healthy area of your life, right? Another sign that you might be in a toxic relationship is that you might feel drained often, mentally, physically, energetically, spiritually, right? Think about the last time you did something that was for yourself, spent time, with yourself, with a loved one, or even slept soundly, right? It is helpful really for us to examine how your connections outside of the relationship and with yourself are affected by the relationship, right? Usually self-care and self-prioritization do get neglected. And so time and mental energy in toxic relationships will often be spent on the other person, whether that's directly or indirectly through backlash of, some, unremitting discord and strife, right? So you might want to try shifting some of your energy to take care of yourself and see how your partner reacts. If their response is negative, that signals toxic traits in the relationship, right? So putting your self-care and yourself first is always going to be important. Now, you may have heard putting someone else, your partner first, is key. That's not the smart way to be, because again, you have to really focus on being your best so that you can bring your best to your relationships with other people. If you're in a place of doing everything for someone else, you're always going to be, at a low point energetically. So trying to fill yourself up and be at your best means you're going to have a better relationship. If your partner has a problem with that, then again, there's probably signs that you're in a toxic relationship. What can you do about it? If you want to salvage it, communication. That person needs to understand where you are, and setting those boundaries is key for that. If, again, it doesn't feel like it's going to be resolved, figuring out how you can move past this in a safe and healthy way so you're not putting yourself in any danger, right? Having the right to put yourself first sometimes means that I'm going to leave this relationship. So really understanding that you need to give yourself some time to really understand what you're looking for out of love and out of a relationship, and how healthy you currently are with your relationship with yourself, right? Because again, a lot of the times when we don't have that healthy relationship, we're going to put other people first because we think that if they send us love, that's going to fill up our bucket. But oftentimes, again, those things are only temporary, or they have restrictions on them, right? They're conditional. They're not unconditional love. So understanding the keys will be smart for you in that one as well. And then finally, what's another sign that you can see if you're in a unhealthy relationship is that you're making excuses for your partner or their behavior, right? Now, do you feel like when it comes to your friendships, your family, your colleagues, that maybe you're in a position where you have to defend your partner, right? It's easy to fall back on the mentality of you don't know them like I do, right? An outside perspective from someone that loves you, such as a friend or family member you trust, may be able to see clearly, your partner's negative characteristics that are hard to acknowledge yourself. So if you're a person who's often making excuses for your partner's behaviors, their actions, their words, and your parents or your family to them, this is a sign that you're in a toxic relationship, right? And you have to really figure out, do I want to keep making excuses for this, or do I want to start, holding them accountable? Because you as your partner also needs to make sure that in your relationship that you hold each other accountable to their actions, to their words, to their behaviors, so that you can help that person develop and grow, right? No one's going to be perfect. Everyone's going to make mistakes. And sometimes people do things, in the spur of the moment. If your partner's doing that often and you're not able to speak to them about it, or you're making excuses for it, then you're in a toxic place. So it's about getting to a place where you can have the communication within your relationship to speak to them and tell them how you feel, and the fact that you don't want to be making excuses for their behavior. You want to help them grow. If they need to get some help, you can be there to get them help. Again, if there's not going to be anywhere that you can move past this, or it's gone too far, it's about figuring out how you can be in a place where you can communicate that effectively and allow yourself to move forward and get yourself to a place where you no longer need to make excuses for them or yourself, because you're doing the work on you to be happy, right? So is it possible to fix a toxic relationship, right? Now, it is, of course, possible to fix a toxic relationship, right? What does that take, though? It takes each person in the relationship to be committed to giving it a go, right? This must be coming from a healthy and mutually beneficial place. So if that happens, that you can move forward and continue, right? Like I said, getting help from a coach, getting help from a therapist, right? I help so many of my clients in these positions where they've been stuck in toxic relationships. They've dated the same types of people, or they're in one now, and they just can't see it clearly because, again, they think this is the way that love is or the relationship goes, because maybe they haven't seen anything differently, right? Working with a coach, helps provide a neutral space to talk about issues, and a skilled and non-judgmental party to witness your challenges and help you find new solutions to old problems, right? Now, if your motivation for staying in a relationship isn't your care for the other person, but fear of being single or whatnot, it may be time to give up that relationship as well, right? If one partner refuses to work on the relationship repeatedly, acts poorly, breaking your agreements with each other, belittling you, it's emotional, physical, financial, sexual abuse, it's time to make a plan to leave that relationship, right? So what are some of the things that you might be able to do? Like I said, figuring out who you can speak to, who is important in your life that you can have a communication with and have this conversation with, where you know that you're going to be able to speak to them freely. They're going to be able to support you if it's time. If it's further, maybe speaking to someone outside of that, that's more of a, that can help you on a more of a deeper level. I know that there's a lot of different hotlines, a lot of different, places you can go if it is at that place. Really have to figure out what feels right for you. But staying in something because of fear is never going to get any better. It's about figuring out a safe and healthy way for you to move forward, so you no longer have to be victim to being in that healthy relationship, right? It's about then getting to a place of healing, growth, and allowing yourself to take yourself back on the journey of self-love, so you can again get to a place of fully healing and transforming yourself, so that the next time you get in a relationship, it is more healthy, it is more happy, it is more passionate, it is more loving. I trust today's podcast episode has been really valuable to you guys. It's a topic that, I really want to talk about, and, I have a lot of experience with, especially with so many of my clients, being in toxic relationships initially and having to help them turn around so they can find true, happy, healthy, love, because that's what people are looking for, right? From a relationship is healthiness and helping you grow and develop, and not pushing you down, and not gaslighting you, and not, being narcissistic, not coercing you in, no violence, right? All of that stuff is not what you want to have in your relationship. So moving towards love, kindness, passion, healthiness, happiness, all of those things is what you want to work towards in a relationship. So I'd love to hear, as always, any of your comments, your feedback, your shares. I love hearing your stories. So feel free to reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, below here, whatever feels right for you, and keep the conversation going with me. I'll be back next week for another episode as always. So always remember that you've got this and I've got you. Till then, chat to you later.